Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. Uh, we don't really have that many stories today, if I'm going to be completely honest. There just wasn't a ton of news this week, so it's going to be a bit of a shorter one. But that's okay. Um, so yeah, our first story it has to do with the Hunger Games. Remember the Hunger Games? Katniss Everdeen, Jennifer Lawrence, one of the Hemsworths, PETA guy. I think his name was literally PETA. The Hunger Games is coming back, but it's not going to have any of those recognizable elements. It's apparently going to be a prequel, and it's going to follow President Snow, because everyone's favorite character, I guess, President Snow. Okay, so this is coming from Deadline. Lionsgate's Hunger Games prequel film based on Susan Collins' novel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, is aiming to start production in the first half of 2022. That update came from Lionsgate Motion Picture Group chairman Joe Drake during the company's quarterly earnings call with Wall Street analysts. The tentpole film is targeted for release in either late fiscal 2023 or early 2024, he said. It's moving along really, really well in pre-production, he said. So, yeah. It's going to be called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Not a great title, but I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I can't speak to the quality of the story. But yeah, I don't know, like, how much excitement there's going to be for a new Hunger Games thing. Like, I like the first movie. I remember loving the second movie, but then I remembered honestly not really caring all that much about the third one for whatever reason. And then I don't even remember if I watched the fourth movie. Like, I know I read the third book, so I know the story, and I can visualize the story in my head. But I genuinely cannot remember if I'm just visualizing from what I read in the book, or if I actually watched the fourth movie. So for me, at least, the Hunger Games is like, oh yeah, that's a thing that happened, but I don't necessarily care to revisit the world. But I mean, if this is a good movie, then I'll watch it. Whatever. But yeah, let me know what you think about the Hunger Games. Like, are you still hungry for more, or are you kind of like me where you're okay if it went away and never came back again? Let me know. Next story. The Suicide Squad came out last weekend, and it has been a financial flop. And some people are confused by this because the movie's actually really good, and it's getting really good reviews with critics. It's getting really great reviews with people who have actually seen the movie, like audiences that have seen the movie. So people are just kind of wondering, like, whoa, what happened? And I have some reasons as to why I think it is the case that it is bombed. So, reason number one, there has been a resurgence of COVID, obviously, with like the Delta variant. It's possible that there are a lot of people that decided to just not go to the movie theaters. And that kind of leads into my next point. This movie released simultaneously on HBO Max. Now, obviously, during this whole COVID pandemic, studios have been experimenting with different release strategies. Paramount Plus is doing the thing where they have a 45-day window, theatrical window, and then it gets moved on to Paramount Plus. Disney is doing their early premiere access thing where you pay $30 to watch it at home. And HBO Max for 2021 have just been like, yep, we're just going to release it day and date on HBO Max. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are like a good chunk of people that were just like, oh, I'll just watch it on HBO Max. Why am I going to go get that Delta variant? Not for me, buddy. So I'll just watch it on HBO Max. So I assume a lot of people also did that. But there are also like some other reasons that I think could also just contribute to the Suicide Squad not being an appealing film for people. So, thirdly, the first movie was maligned. Like, it made a lot of money, but people didn't really like it. It critically bombed. A lot of the fans were like, no, this is horrible. Give us the air cut or whatever. Like, it was obvious that this was just a studio meddled film, and the first one was not all that popular. So it it's not the wildest thing to imagine that after that first one, people went, I don't want to watch another Suicide Squad movie. And another reason, it could be that it's an R-rated movie. You know, R-rated movies don't tend to make a whole bunch of money. And this is a movie that had like $180 million budget. You don't, that's a tough sell for an R-rated movie. Now, I know we had Deadpool beforehand, but I feel like Deadpool is a bit of a phenomenon. And if you remember, the first Deadpool had a pretty small budget. So it wasn't until the second movie that they were like, oh, this is like a really popular franchise. Let's throw a bunch of money at it. So I think that's another reason why it could have flopped is because of the R rating. There are also a bunch of unknown characters in this. You know, nobody knows who Bloodsport is. Nobody knows who Polka Dot Man is. Nobody knows who King Shark is. I could go on. But yeah, people just don't really know these characters. And so, yeah, it's not a ridiculous thing to assume that, like, people are just going to look at these characters and be like, I don't know who you are, so I don't really care about you. And also kind of tangential to that, this one didn't have a ton of like huge actors. Like the first one had Will Smith, and while I'm personally of the opinion that the age of the movie star is dead, where like just putting a popular actor in your movie, it's not going to necessarily like immediately mean big box office returns. Having a big actor in your movie is going to help sell it to audiences. Like it's not ineffective. It's just not the saving grace. So I do think that just the niche of this movie also played to its downfall. And then that kind of segues into my next point is that I think people overestimate how popular Harley Quinn is. Like, obviously, she has her diehard fan base, people who love the animated series and teenagers who shop at Hot Topic. They all love Harley Quinn, but I don't think that there's a lot of love for her in like the general movie-going audience. I mean, sure, you had her the first Suicide Squad movie. She was heavily prominent in the marketing, but so was the Joker. And you had Will Smith in there. You had Batman in those trailers. That when people watched that trailer, they were like, oh, I recognize those things. I don't think that Harley Quinn is the reason why they went to go see the first Suicide Squad. And you also have to remember that I think that first movie also had like just the air of, hey, the DCEU is a thing, even though people may not have loved Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I think they went, okay, whatever, but the next DC thing, Suicide Squad, yeah, we'll watch that. Like, I don't think that Harley Quinn was the reason why that first one made a bunch of money. And then that leads into Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey was also a flop. Now, and that's also a movie that had pretty decent reception to it. Like, I think it has like a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes as far as critics go, and it has a similar rating from audiences. People generally like that movie, but even then, there just wasn't a whole ton of interest in it because that one kind of flopped as well. And then we get into here in this movie, and Harley Quinn, heavily prominent in the marketing. It's not that the character of Harley Quinn is not enough to bring in audiences. Like I think people overestimate how popular she is. Now, this is not me saying that I don't like her. I mean, I actually don't like her all that much, but this isn't just me hating on the character. I'm trying to give an objective reading on this. And then also, I think the big thing, like one of the big things that people aren't talking about enough is the marketing just wasn't that great. Like I'm only speaking for myself, but I did not love the trailers for this movie. I ended up quite enjoying the movie, but I didn't love the trailers. They just weren't all that good. It's one of those things that's kind of hard to quantify, but say what you will about the first Suicide Squad movie, the trailer, that Bohemian Rhapsody trailer, was incredible. I think that played a huge part in people wanting to go see it. Like, I just didn't. I didn't think any of the trailers for this new Suicide Squad movie was very good. So when you release a lackluster trailer and, all people have to work with is, oh, it's another Suicide Squad movie. Oh, okay, it's Harley Quinn is in it. I don't really care that much. Like, I can't blame audiences for feeling that way because I kind of felt similarly, but it's a superhero movie and I'm a sheep, so obviously I went to go see it. And so Yeah. And also another reason that I just thought of that I didn't put here, you also have to, that kind of plays into the people not necessarily being into Harley Quinn or the Suicide Squad, but the state of the DCEU is just in such disarray that it's not like Marvel, it's not like the MCU, where the MCU is such a well-oiled machine, people love it, it's crowd-pleasing, and you can make a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, and because it is a Marvel movie, it'll do well, right? And even in that movie had a really great trailer that I think got a lot of people interested as well. But even still, the state that the MCU is in, you can release a lackluster, or you can make a movie about an unknown property and it'll do well. And so that's just not where the DCEU is at yet. There's just such a disarray in what the DCEU even is, where you have 5 Superman projects, 5 Batman projects. What even is the DCEU? Like, what's going on, like, with the Matt Reeves Batman? How does that relate to what they're doing in The Flash? And then, is Henry Cavill ever coming back? Like, it's just such a mess. And it's in a place now where each individual movie is just kind of standing on its own, and they're not building each other up. So, yeah, I don't know. These are some of my reasons as to why I think the movie flopped. I don't think you can entirely blame it on COVID or the simultaneous HBO release. I do also think that there are just some fundamental issues with the movie that led people to not necessarily be all that interested in it. But also, just to touch on the HBO Max simultaneous release, I think we're seeing now, I mean, if you look at what they've been doing with Disney Plus, like the movies that they've done simultaneous releases for on their Disney Plus Premier Access have not done that well. Mulan didn't do that well. Raya and the Last Dragon didn't do that well. Cruella didn't do that well. Even Black Widow did not do that well at the box office. And then as far as on Disney Plus, they're not releasing their numbers. They've only released the numbers for Black Widow's opening weekend. Notice how they have not given us the total amount of money that Black Widow has made. That's telling me that it's probably not a lot. So, and then when you look on the HBO Max side of things, I mean, what are some of the bigger releases? I mean, I guess you've had stuff like Godzilla vs. Kong that did okay, and then you had Mortal Kombat, which apparently did okay, but I don't think those movies were like massive budgeted movies. Okay, Godzilla vs. Kong, I believe, probably had a pretty big budget, and I think it made around $400 million. But a movie like Mortal Kombat, I don't think it did amazingly. I just think that for its budget, it did okay. But then when you look at the Suicide Squad, I mean, it's a disaster. Like, I think this movie had like $180 million budget. It's made about I actually did pull up the number here, $71 million worldwide. That's not good. That is not good at all. That should have been the amount of money it made domestically in its opening weekend. So, yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the Suicide Squad. I personally really like the movie. I think it is better than the first Suicide Squad in virtually every way, and I think it is a shame that people have not gone out to see it. But let me know why you think the movie flopped. Maybe there are some reasons that I didn't mention. Maybe you disagree with some of my reasons. Let me know in the comments down below. Next story. We got a Doom Patrol Season 3 trailer. So, Doom Patrol is a DC show that it originated on that DC Universe subscription service, and it was just left there to die because nobody's going to subscribe to a subscription service just to watch DC content. Thankfully, however, that service has long passed, and now a lot of that content, like Doom Patrol, which is amazing, and the Harley Quinn animated show, by the way, also originated on the DC Universe subscription service, and Titans is also a thing. But these shows originated on the DC Universe app or whatever, and they've since been moved on to HBO Max, and they're actually living on HBO Max now. So go watch Doom Patrol, and for the love of Christ, go watch Harley Quinn, because I mentioned before that I didn't really love the character of Harley Quinn. I didn't really go into it too much, but her show is actually amazing. Like, this is the first time I've ever fallen in love with the character of Harley Quinn. It is in that show. But the news story here is that Doom Patrol Season 3, there's a teaser out, and we also have a September 23rd release date. So that's really soon. I did not realize that. So I am beyond excited for Season 3 of Doom Patrol. And yeah, just go watch Doom Patrol if you haven't. It's absolutely amazing. It's very weird and violent and just very weird, but at the core of it is just an amazing show with really amazing characters that you really fall in love with and sympathize with because their lives are really shitty. but yeah, incredible show. Go check it out. There's a teaser out if you haven't seen it. Okay, our next story is kind of related to our Suicide Squad story, and it is that Warner Brothers in 2022 are now going to commit to theatrically exclusive releases. So they're doing away with the day and date HBO Max release, and now it seems like they're going to be pivoting to a model similar to Paramount, where Paramount Plus, as I explained before, they show their movies exclusively in theaters for 45 days before putting them on Paramount Plus. WB moving forward is also going to be doing that. And here's a statement from AMC. This is coming from Collider. We're especially pleased Warner Brothers has decided to move away from day and date, AMC boss Adam Aron said on Monday during an earnings call with investors. He also noted, adding that an exclusive window is an important way to build big and successful franchises. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I this isn't surprising at all to me. The day and date experiment has just proven that you're just not going to make your money back on big, expensive movies, putting them on streaming. Like, the Disney Plus model hasn't worked out. You know, they have not driven HBO Max subscriptions in the numbers that they wanted them to. So, yep, and not surprising at all that we're going back to theatrically exclusive models. Although it should be noticed that before the norm was a 90-day exclusive window, they've shrunk that down to 45. So we're not going completely back to normal. It is still a bit of a give and take. So, well, we'll see if this becomes the new normal or if at some point we go back to the 90-day. I do think that as the day and date model fails more and more, I do think that theaters are going to have more bargaining power. So we'll see if theaters eventually get the cojones they need to be like, no, 90-day theatrically exclusive window. If you don't comply, your movie's not showing in our theaters. So we'll see where that all leads. But for now, we'll move on to the next story. Morbius, the director for Morbius, in an interview, said some interesting things about the cast. So this is coming from Screen Rant. Oops, did not mean to go there. Okay. Espinosa, the director, recently spoke with MovieZine via the Direct to discuss his work on the upcoming installment in the Spunk, which, yes, does stand for the Spider-Man universe of Marvel characters. It is the Spunk. It's a good name. Shut up. I don't want to hear about it. It's a good name. In reflecting on how the set of Morbius may have resembled something shooting in his own country, the filmmaker noted a few actors directed on set that created a sense of excitement for Espinosa, including Hardy. See what Espinosa said below. When you walk around there, the recording looks just like a Swedish production, but when you look at the schedule and read names like Michael Keaton, Jared Leto, Tom Hardy, then it feels cool and very exciting. So we saw in the trailer for Morbius that Michael Keaton is in fact in it, where everybody's assuming that, you know, he's playing his character from Spider-Man Homecoming, the Vulture. And, you know, he's wearing the same, like, prison jumpsuit that he was wearing at the end of that movie as well. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think Sony or Marvel have come out and confirmed that, but it's like, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, no, it's Vulture. Like, who are we getting? And now the director is basically, it slipped out of his mouth that Tom Hardy is also going to be in this movie. So presumably, we're probably going to get an Eddie Brock cameo, definitely, and potentially even Venom being in this movie. Which, I mean, yeah, that's I don't want to say that's exciting. It's one of the it's exciting in the sense of like you're just like complete like in the corporate zombie sense of like, whoa, they're doing the cinematic universe. The thing is, they're all connecting. But as someone who didn't like Venom much at all and isn't really excited about Morbius, it's not like narratively exciting to me. But I don't know, like it's so funny that like nothing about Morbius himself is exciting. It's just the auxiliary potential of like Spider-Man and Vulture and Venom being in it that is what is driving all of the excitement for this movie. So, but who knows? Maybe it'll be a good movie. I don't know. I'm not saying it won't be. It might be a good movie, but it doesn't look very good. Okay, whatever. Next story. The Marvels is shooting. So, The Marvels is the show, or I guess it's the sequel to Captain Marvel, but then it's also going to be starring Miss Marvel, who's Kamala Khan. She's going to have her show on Disney Plus. We don't know the release date, but it's pretty soon. And it's also going to star Monica Rambeau from WandaVision, played by Teyonah Parris. And collectively, they are going to be known as the Marvels, I guess. And so, like, I guess what I want, I'm not, just given the name, I'm not sure if this is going to be like a Captain Marvel 2 in the sense that she is going to be the main character, or if the ensemble cast are all going to like share the screen equally. But either way, it's shooting. This is coming from Collider. Star Brie Larson confirmed that production had begun in an interview with SiriusXM on Tuesday. But Jackson's Post offers the first glimpse behind the scenes. Larson is particularly in awe of the scale of that production. So, this is from Brie Larson. It's a really unique experience. I'm a huge fan of Disneyland, so to me, it feels like I get to go to my own private Disneyland every single day because they're building all of these insane worlds that no one gets to know about, no one else gets to see. You'll see it when the movie comes out, but for now, it's just mine. I'm in sets that are bigger than you can imagine right now. It's really special. So, yeah, we're getting, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Getting the Marvels, it's shooting. Yeah, I don't know. This is like a wait and see movie for me. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of Captain Marvel. I did like Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, and then, I'm going to have to see if I like this iteration of Miss Marvel. Like, I will say that Avengers game was not very good, but Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel in it, was the saving grace of the game. Like, absolutely she was. So, I'm definitely interested in the Miss Marvel show. Hopefully it's great, and if that's great, then yeah, my excitement for this movie will rise. But for now, it's just kind of a wait and see thing for me. So I haven't made any graphics for this, but I figured since there weren't that many news stories today, I also watched the What If episode 1. It was fine. It was okay. Here's my main issue with it is that it's just a retelling of Captain America: The First Avenger with some twists. Like, the idea of what if was appealing to me if it was like, okay, this thing happened differently. Now that the ripples of that were so broad that now it's a completely different story. Like, that's appealing to me. Just going through and telling the exact same story from a Marvel movie, but it's kind of different. I don't know. It wasn't too appealing to me. And not to mention that they took the story of the first Avenger and smushed it into 30 minutes. So it just felt really rushed. And so, yeah. Now, that being said, I like the animation. I like Peggy Carter. I like Haley Atwell. So it wasn't like a miserable watch for me. Like, I still enjoyed it. There's actually some really cool action in it as well, where like there's like especially this one scene where she's like fighting planes and she's like jumping from plane to plane, and it's just like genuinely awesome action. Like that's something that if I had seen in a movie, I would have probably been like, whoa, that was amazing. So really, it was really good aesthetically. it had the upside of me already liking these characters, but just thinking about it critically, it was just really rushed and really unimaginative in my opinion. But I don't know. That was just the first episode. We'll see where it goes from there in the future. I've heard from like reviews or whatever that the show picks up later, so hopefully it gets better. But anyways, that is going to be the end of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. I mean, it's still not like a short video or anything like that, but there were less stories than usual. So hopefully the news picks up this week and we get a bigger show next week. But for now, that is going to be the end. Let me know what you thought of all of these stories. Hold on, I'm dying. And tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Bye.